All right, future AWS certified AI practitioners. Are you ready? We're going to do a deep dive into generative AI for Chapter 3 of our exam prep series. You know, all those crazy images and text that AI can make. That's generative AI, and, well, breaking it down for us so you can ace those multiple choice questions.
You know what's really cool? It's how generative AI actually makes new data. It's not just looking at what's already there. It's like a computer that can write a symphony or paint, like a masterpiece.
Okay, now my mind is kind of blown. But before we get to AI making, like Beethoven's 10th Symphony, we got to start with the basics. It's all connected, right? AI, ML, deep learning, and then generative AI. Where do we even start?
Think of it like a family recipe that's been passed down. First, you have the general idea of cooking, that's AI, the big concept of intelligent machines. Then you have learning from experience, adjusting the recipe based on what people like. That's machine learning, the algorithms that get better with data.
So AI is like grandma's original recipe, and ML is mom, tweaking it a little bit. Then what's deep learning? Is that like me trying to make it vegan and gluten-free?
You got it. Deep learning is like taking that recipe to a whole other level. Imagine analyzing every ingredient at a chemical level, thinking about food trends around the world, and even figuring out individual dietary needs. That's where those neural networks come in, like a whole team of chefs analyzing every detail to make the most amazing dish.
Deep learning is definitely the gourmet chef. But where does generative AI fit in? Is that the food critic, judging the final product?
Not really. Generative AI is more like the chef using all that knowledge to come up with completely new dishes. It's taking inspiration from the past, but creating something totally unique and delicious.
All right, now I'm hungry for both knowledge and food. But since we're prepping for this exam, what are the absolute must-knows about generative AI? It's all about those multiple choice questions, right?
Absolutely. One key concept you'll have to understand is the different types of neural networks and what they're each good at. It's like putting together your AI dream team with each player having a special skill.
Okay, I like that. So who's our star quarterback on this AI team?
That would be our feed-forward networks. They're like the workhorses, great at pattern recognition and tasks that need classifying. Imagine needing to spot fake transactions or make marketing more personal. That's where feed-forward networks really shine.
Okay, so they're all about finding patterns and making decisions based on what they've learned. Who else is on this team?
Next, we've got recurrent networks, the masters of sequences. They're amazing at anything involving order, like natural language processing or predicting stock prices. Think about chatbots understanding how conversations flow, or algorithms figuring out the next big stock jump. That's recurrent networks in action.
All right, so there are language and prediction pros. Who else do we have on this AI dream team?
Now for the visual artist. Convolutional networks. These guys are the image experts, handling everything from spotting objects to separating different parts of an image. Think about medical scans that find tumors or self-driving cars navigating streets.
Whoa, that's some serious visual power. Are there any more players on this team?
We got two more important ones. First, we have the real innovators, generative adversarial networks, or GANs for short. These are two networks that compete against each other to make really realistic new data. It's like an AI art battle, constantly pushing the limits of what's possible. Think about those super realistic AI faces or brand new songs you've seen online.
Okay, so GANs are like creative rivals, pushing each other to make awesome new things. Who's our last team member?
Last but not least, we have transformers. They're like the language whisperers. They get the relationships between words and their context. They've totally changed how we do natural language processing, and they power some of the most advanced language models out there today.
So transformers are like the master communicators, making sure AI really understands the subtleties of human language. Okay, we've got our AI dream team assembled. What else is important for the exam?
Now, understanding common algorithms used in AI and ML is key. And remember, it's not just about memorizing names. It's about really getting what each algorithm does, and when to use it. Kind of like studying different plays for your AI team to use during a game.
Right, like knowing the best strategy for different situations. So what are some algorithms I need to know for this exam?
Let's start with linear regression. It's used for predicting a number, like estimating a house price based on things like its size, location, and other factors. Imagine you're drawing a line through a bunch of data points on a graph. That's linear regression, finding the best fit to, make predictions.
So linear regression is like drawing a trend line to predict where things are going. What about when you want to categorize things?
For that, we use logistic regression. It's all about predicting probabilities, like will a customer click on this ad or not. It helps us categorize things based on their characteristics.
So logistic regression is kind of like sorting things into yes or no buckets based on what we know about them, what other algorithms are important.
Decision trees are a must-know. They break down complex decisions into simpler choices, kind of like a flowchart. Think about assessing loan risk based on income, credit score, and job history. Each decision point branches out like a tree until you get to a final prediction.
Decision trees are like those choose-your-own-adventure books, leading to different outcomes based on the choices made along the way. What other algorithms should I be studying?
Support vector machines, or SVMs, are another great tool for classification. They're kind of like drawing a line to separate different groups, but they try to make that separation as wide as possible. Think about classifying emails as spam or not spam. SVMs find the best boundary to keep those categories, really separate.
So SVMs are like creating a clear dividing line between different categories to make things more accurate. What else is there?
We have naive Bayes, which uses probability and assumes features are independent. It's often used for classifying text, like filtering out spam. Imagine figuring out if a message is spam based on words like free or prize. Naive Bayes calculates the probability of it being spam based on, if those words are there or not.
Naive Bayes is kind of like judging a book by its cover, or in this case, an email by its words, and using probabilities to make a classification. What other algorithms are important?
There's also K-nearest neighbors, or KNN. It classifies data points based on how similar they are to others. Think about grouping plants together based on, stuff like leaf shape, color, and size. KNN looks at the nearest neighbors to decide which group a new plant belongs to.
So KNN is grouping things based on their shared characteristics, looking at their closest buddies to determine their category. What else?
Next up is K-means. It's another clustering algorithm that groups data based on similarities. Imagine grouping cities in a country based on economic stuff like GDP and unemployment rate. K-means makes clusters of cities with similar economic profiles.
K-means is like creating economic regions based on how similar cities are to each other. What's the algorithm we should cover for the exam?
The last one is random forest, which combines multiple decision trees to make, more solid predictions. It's like having a panel of experts voting on the best outcome. Imagine predicting how much a crop will yield based on things like weather, soil quality, and past yields. Each tree in the forest makes a prediction, and the most common one wins.
So random forest all about teamwork, using the wisdom of the crowd, or the forest in this case, to make more accurate predictions.
Exactly. And remember, whenever you build a model, you want to make sure it fits the data just right. We're looking for that Goldilocks zone, not too simple, not too complex.
Right, because if it's too simple, it'll miss important things like trying to pass a test without studying enough. That's underfitting. And if it's too complex, it's like memorizing the answers without understanding the ideas behind them. That's overfitting, and it won't work well with new data.
Precisely. And two key concepts that affect how accurate a model is are bias and variance.
Bias and variance, those are like statistical terms, right? How do they relate to, machine learning?
They're crucial for machine learning, too. Bias is about the assumptions your model makes. High bias means it's oversimplifying and missing details in the data. Imagine a loan approval model that's biased against certain zip codes. That would lead to some unfair decisions.
So bias is like having blind spots that lead to inaccurate or even unfair predictions. What about variance?
Variance is how sensitive your model is to changes in the data. High variance means it's too easily swayed by noise and won't, apply well to new data. It's like a student who aces the practice test but bombs the real one because they haven't really learned the concepts.
So variance is like being easily distracted, which leads to unreliable predictions when you get new data.
Exactly. The best situation is low bias and low variance, where your model accurately captures the patterns in the data without being too sensitive to, all the noise. But how do we actually build these models?
That's where things get really interesting because AWS has this amazing toolbox of services designed to make building, training, and deploying ML models a lot easier.
You said it. And thinking about those tricky multiple choice questions, let's dive into the AWS services that you'll likely see on the exam.
All right, time to open up the AWS toolbox. What's in there?
One of the most powerful tools, especially for generative AI, is Amazon Bedrock. It gives you access to a bunch of, really advanced foundation models from top AI companies, so you can build generative AI applications without starting from scratch.
So Bedrock is like having a team of AI experts ready to help with my generative AI projects. That's a big plus.
Exactly. It's like having a master chef sharing their secret recipes and techniques. And speaking of help, there's another great tool, Amazon Q. It's a generative AI-powered assistant made specifically for businesses and developers.
Amazon Q. So is it like having an AI mentor guiding me through my AWS journey?
You could say that there are two versions, Amazon Q Business, which helps businesses find insights in their data and automate tasks, and Amazon Q Developer, which is a lifesaver for developers, helping them understand AWS architecture and even troubleshoot code.
Wow, it's like having a personal AI tutor for all things. AWS. Okay, we've got Bedrock for access to those foundation models and Amazon Q for, guidance and support. What else is in this AI toolbox?
If you're dealing with speech data, you'll love Amazon Transcribe. It converts speech to text really accurately and even has specialized versions like Amazon Transcribe Medical for transcribing medical conversations.
I bet there's something for going the other way too, right? Text to speech.
You know it. Amazon Polly gives your applications a voice. It turns text into lifelike speech, which is perfect for accessibility tools, creating, engaging voiceovers, or even giving your chatbot a personality.
All right, so transcribe for speech to text, Poly for text to speech. What about building those chat bots and voice assistants we see everywhere these days?
That's where Amazon Lex comes in. It uses the same deep learning tech that powers Alexa, letting you create really smart conversational interfaces that understand natural language and respond in a, human-like way.
So with Lex, I could build my own custom chatbot to answer questions, schedule appointments, or even just provide some entertainment.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless. And if you need to pull text and data from a ton of paperwork, Amazon TextTract is your new best friend. It automatically grabs information from documents like invoices or contracts, saving you from manual data entry.
No more data entry nightmares. Thank goodness. That's a huge time saver. But what about those times when you need a human touch, especially for tasks that need judgment or a bit of, common sense?
That's where Amazon Augmented AI, or A2I, comes in. It smoothly blends human review into AI workflows. You can use AI for most of a task and have humans handle those tricky edge cases or tasks that need a more nuanced approach.
It's like having a team of AI and human experts working together to get the job done right.
Exactly. And for those times when you need to really understand the meaning and sentiment behind text, like analyzing customer feedback or social media posts, Amazon Comprehend is your go-to service. It can analyze text for sentiment, identify key phrases, and even, categorize topics.
Okay, so Comprehend can unlock the hidden meanings and emotions in text data. That's really valuable for businesses trying to understand their customers or see what's trending. What about working with images and videos? Are there any AWS tools for that?
Of course, Amazon Recognition is your computer vision expert. It can identify objects, people, text, scenes, and even activities in images and videos, opening up tons of possibilities for security, retail analytics, and even personalized shopping experiences.
Wow, Recognition sounds like it can do everything from helping stores track what customers are doing to powering those smart security cameras that recognize faces.
Exactly. And if you want to build personalized recommendation systems like the ones Netflix and Amazon use, check out Amazon Personalize. It takes the difficulty out of building those systems, letting you create custom recommendations that make user experiences better and boost, engagement.
So no need to be a machine learning expert to create personalized recommendations. That's great news for anyone who wants to provide tailored experiences for their users. But what about searching through mountains of data?
For that, we have Amazon Kendra, your intelligent search superhero. It can search across multiple data sources, understand natural language queries, and deliver the most relevant results. It's perfect for businesses that need to make information easy to find for their employees or, customers.
Kendra sounds like a game changer, especially with how much data there is these days. But what about setting up a contact center in the cloud?
Amazon Connect is your answer. It's a cloud-based contact center solution that makes setting up and managing customer interactions easy. It even has AI-powered features like chatbots and analytics to help you provide, excellent customer service.
So Connect is like a virtual call center powered by AI, ready to handle all my customer interactions. What about keeping my business safe from fraud?
Amazon Fraud Detector is your AI bodyguard using machine learning to identify and stop fraudulent transactions, helping you stay ahead of the bad guys.
Fraud detector is like having an AI security system always watching my business for suspicious activity.
Exactly. And for those who aren't coding experts, Amazon SageMaker Canvas is like a dream come true. It's a no-code machine learning tool that lets you build models for forecasting and prediction with an easy-to-use, visual interface.
No-code machine learning. It's like building a model with drag-and-drop tools.
You got it. And if you need more advanced machine learning capabilities, there's always Amazon SageMaker, a comprehensive platform for building, training, and deploying ML models at scale.
So SageMaker is the ultimate machine learning playground for developers who want to build custom models and have more control over the process.
Exactly. And speaking of control, SageMaker also has a feature store, which is a central place for storing, sharing, and managing machine learning features.
Features. Remind me what those are again?
Think of features as the individual pieces of data you use to train your models, like a chef choosing the best ingredients. Features are crucial for building accurate and effective models. The feature store keeps those features organized, consistent, and easy to, access.
So it's like a well-stocked pantry for my machine learning projects, making sure all the ingredients are fresh and ready to go. We've covered a lot of different neural networks, algorithms, and tons of AWS services for AI and ML. What's next on our exam prep journey?
Now that we know the tools, let's look at the big picture, the machine learning development lifecycle. It's like a roadmap that guides you through the whole process, from gathering data to deploying the model and beyond.
Okay, I like a good roadmap. Where do we begin on this ML journey?
The first step is data collection. It's like a chef sourcing the freshest produce and the best spices.
So just like with cooking, the quality of the ingredients matters in machine learning.
Absolutely. You need high quality data that's, relevant to the problem you're trying to solve. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
Okay, we've gathered our data. What's next?
Next is data cleaning. This is where you get rid of any errors, inconsistencies, or missing values in your data. It's like washing and chopping your vegetables before you start cooking. You want to get rid of anything that might ruin the dish.
Clean data is key to creating a delicious, machine learning meal. What's next?
Then comes exploratory data analysis, or EDA. This is where you really get to know your data, understand its patterns, trends, and, relationships. It's like a chef experimenting with different flavors to make a unique dish.
So EDA is like doing some detective work to uncover the hidden stories in our data.
Exactly. And once you understand your data well, you can start preparing it to use in your machine learning models.
Data preparation. What does that involve?
It's about getting your data in the right format and structure for the algorithm you've chosen. This might involve stuff like feature engineering, where you select, transform, and create features to make your model perform better. Think of it like a chef carefully preparing each ingredient to make the dish taste, amazing.
So feature engineering is like fine-tuning the ingredients to create the perfect recipe for our model.
Exactly. You want to make sure your data is presented to the algorithms in a way that helps them, learn well.
Okay, so we've collected, cleaned, explored, and prepped our data. Now we're ready to start building our models, right?
You got it. This is where you pick the right algorithms and use them to train your models on the data you've prepared. It's like putting all your ingredients together and baking them in the oven.
But just like with baking, you got to keep an eye on the oven, right?
Precisely. You need to monitor the training process to make sure everything is going smoothly.
Okay, we've built our model, but how do we know if it's any good?
That's where model evaluation comes in. We check how well our models are doing, kind of like a chef doing a taste test to see if the dish, meets their standards.
So we need to make sure our model isn't serving up a burnt cake.
Exactly. We want to make sure our models are making accurate predictions and can, adapt well to new data.
And what if they aren't? What if our model needs some adjustments?
Then we might need to go back, tweak our model, try different algorithms, or even get more data, just like a chef might adjust the seasoning or baking time. We need to fine-tune our model to get the best, results.
So it's an iterative process. We might need to go back and forth between different stages until we get what we want.
Precisely. Building machine learning models is rarely a linear process. It's all about experimenting, repeating, and continuously improving.
Okay, we've built, evaluated, and fine-tuned our model. What's the last step?
Deployment. This is where we take our model out of the, development kitchen and into the real world, like a chef presenting their amazing creation to the diners.
So deployment is like the grand opening of our model, where it finally gets to show off its skills.
Exactly. We want to make sure it's smoothly integrated into our applications or systems so it can start delivering, value.
Okay, deployment, the final step. But before we get too far ahead, where do we get these machine learning models in the first place? Do we have to build them all ourselves from scratch?
Not necessarily. There are a few different ways to go. One option is using open source pre-trained models. Those are models that have already been trained on massive data sets and are available for anyone to, use. Think of it like using pre-made pizza dough instead of making it yourself.
So it's like starting with a head start, taking advantage of someone else's hard work.
Exactly. It can save you a ton of time and effort, especially if you're working on something common like image classification or natural language processing.
That sounds super convenient. Are there any other places to find machine learning models?
Absolutely. You can find models in AWS Marketplace. Think of it like an app store for machine learning where you can find models for all sorts of things and even test them before, committing.
So it's like trying before you buy, making sure the model is a good fit for what I need.
Exactly. And of course, if you need a truly unique solution, you can always build your own models from scratch using tools like Amazon SageMaker.
Okay, so we have open source models, AWS Marketplace, and the option to build our own. That's a lot of choices.
It is. And the best choice for you will depend on what you need and what resources you have.
It's like choosing between baking from scratch, using a mix, or ordering takeout. It all depends on your time, skills, and budget. But no matter where we get our model, what are the key steps to deploy it?
You need to choose a deployment method, set up the necessary infrastructure, and monitor your model's performance once it's, live.
So deploying a model isn't just a one-time thing. We have to think about how we'll manage and maintain it once it's out there in the real world.
You got it. Machine learning models are like living things that need to be watched, updated, and maybe even retrained to make sure they're still performing well.
It's like taking care of a plant. We need to water it, give it sunlight, and maybe even repot it as it, grows.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to understand the whole machine learning development lifecycle. It's not just about building the models, but about managing the entire process from data collection to deployment and beyond.
Okay, we've covered the machine learning lifecycle from data collection to deployment. What else should I know for the AWS Certified AI Practitioner exam?
Understanding different data formats is important. We have structured data, which is neatly organized in rows and columns, like a spreadsheet. Semi-structured data has some organization but isn't as rigid, like JSON or XML files. And unstructured data has no set format, like text documents or, images.
So it's like organizing our ingredients. Some are prepackaged and labeled, some are loose, and some are just raw ingredients waiting to be prepped. What else do we need to know about data?
You'll also need to know about different types of machine learning. We have supervised learning where we train models on labeled data, telling them what each data point is. Unsupervised learning is where we let the model find patterns in unlabeled data. And reinforcement learning is where we train models through trial and error, rewarding them for good decisions.
It's like different teaching styles. Sometimes we give clear instructions, sometimes we encourage exploration, and sometimes we use rewards and consequences to guide learning.
Exactly. Each type of machine learning has its pros and cons depending on the task.
Okay, we've got data formats, types of machine learning, and the machine learning lifecycle. What else is crucial for this exam?
Remember those concepts we talked about, overfitting and underfitting? Overfitting happens when your model is too complex and memorizes the training data, while underfitting is when it's too simple and misses, important patterns.
Right, like a student who memorizes the answers without understanding versus a student who hasn't studied enough. What about those other two concepts, bias and variance?
Those are also key for understanding model accuracy. Bias is about the assumptions your model makes, while variance is about how sensitive it is to changes in the data.
Right, we want a model that makes fair and unbiased predictions without being too sensitive to, noise in the data. It's like finding that sweet spot between being open-minded and being too easily swayed.
Exactly. Finding the right balance between bias and variance is crucial for building accurate and reliable models.
Okay, we've covered a lot, from the basics of AI and ML to data formats, types of machine learning, and even those tricky concepts like overfitting, underfitting, bias, and variance. Is there anything else I need to know for this AWS Certified AI Practitioner exam?
Well, we could go deeper into different ways to deploy models and explore the specific things those AWS managed AI services can, do.
Now that you mention it, I am curious about those different deployment methods. We talked about deployment briefly before, but could you explain the different ways to deploy a model in production?
Of course. When it comes to deploying machine learning models, there are a few approaches, each with its own, pros and cons. One common method is using a managed API service.
Managed API service. That sounds interesting. Tell me more.
Basically, this involves deploying your trained model on a platform that handles all the underlying infrastructure stuff for you. It's fully managed.
So it's like having a dedicated team taking care of all the technical stuff behind the scenes while I just focus on using the model.
Exactly. Amazon SageMaker Endpoints is a great example of a managed API service. It's a simple way to deploy machine learning models for real-time inference, and it scales automatically to meet demand.
Real-time inference, meaning I can get predictions from the model instantly.
Precisely. You can send data to the endpoint using HTTP requests and get predictions back in response, making it easy to integrate into your applications.
Wow, that sounds super efficient and easy to use. But what about those situations where I need to process lots of data offline? Are there options for that too?
Absolutely. If you have a lot of data and efficiency is more important than getting results right away, batch inference is the way to go.
Batch inference. How is that different from, real-time inference?
Instead of processing individual requests as they come in, batch inference processes all the data at once.
Okay, so it's like baking a whole batch of cookies instead of one at a time.
Exactly. It's cheaper and more efficient for large data sets, but it might take longer to get the results.
That makes sense. It's like choosing between a quick snack and preparing a, feast. It all depends on what you need and when you need it. So we have managed API services for real-time inference and batch inference for offline processing. Are there any other deployment methods?
Of course. Another option is deploying your model to an edge device.
Edge device. What's that?
Edge devices are basically devices that operate outside of the traditional cloud, closer to where the data is generated. Think smartphones, smart speakers, or even, industrial sensors.
So instead of sending data to the cloud for processing, the model runs directly on the device itself.
Exactly. This can be really useful for applications that need low latency, real-time processing, or operate in environments with limited or unreliable connectivity.
Okay, so edge deployment is all about bringing the model closer to the action. But how do you actually deploy a model to an edge device?
Well, AWS has services like Amazon SageMaker Edge Manager to make that process easier. It lets you package, deploy, and manage machine learning models on edge devices.
So it's like having a specialized delivery service for your machine learning models, making sure they reach their destination safely and efficiently.
That's a great way to put it. And once your model is deployed to the edge, you can keep track of its performance, manage updates, and make sure it's working well in its new environment.
Wow, deploying to the edge sounds incredibly powerful for those situations where real-time processing and low latency are, critical. But let's switch gears for a second. You mentioned earlier that we should talk about what specific AWS managed AI services can do. What did you have in mind?
Well, one service that really stands out, especially for generative AI, is Amazon Bedrock. It's a fully managed service that gives you access to a collection of, cutting-edge foundation models, or FMs, from leading AI companies.
Foundation models. Those sound pretty foundational. Can you explain what they are and why they're so important?
Foundation models are basically large language models, or LLMs, that have been trained on huge amounts of text and code. They've learned a vast amount of knowledge and can do a wide range of tasks, from generating text and translating languages to writing code and answering questions.
So they're like the ultimate AI multitaskers.
Exactly, and Bedrock makes it easy to use these powerful foundation models through a, simple API.
Okay, so with Bedrock, I can tap into the power of these pre-trained foundation models without having to train them myself. That sounds like a huge advantage.
It is, and what's even better is that Bedrock lets you customize these models with your own data, making them fit your specific needs and applications.
Customization. So it's not just a one-size-fits-all approach. I can actually fine-tune these models to work with my unique requirements.
Absolutely. Bedrock gives you several ways to customize foundation models, including giving additional context through prompts and even fine-tuning the model's parameters with your own data.
Ooh, fine-tuning sounds pretty advanced. Can you explain how that works?
Essentially, fine-tuning means taking a pre-trained foundation model and training it further on a smaller, more specific data set that's relevant to what you're doing. This helps the model adapt its knowledge and perform better on your particular use case.
Okay, so it's like giving the model some specialized training to make it even more of an expert in my domain.
Exactly. And Bedrock gives you all the tools and infrastructure you need to fine-tune these models effectively and, efficiently.
Wow, Bedrock sounds incredibly powerful for building generative AI applications. Are there any other AWS managed AI services you think we should highlight?
Well, another service that's worth mentioning, especially if you're interested in natural language processing, is Amazon Comprehend.
Comprehend. We talked about that briefly before, but I'd love to learn more.
It's a fully managed MLP service that uses machine learning to find insights and relationships in text data. It can do things like sentiment analysis, entity recognition, key phrase extraction, topic modeling, and even, custom entity recognition.
Okay, so it's like having an AI reading comprehension helper that can understand the nuances of human language and pull out valuable information from text.
Exactly. And Comprehend is really flexible. You can use pre-built models or train your own custom models to make it fit your specific needs.
Custom model, so I can teach Comprehend to understand the language and terms that are unique to my industry or domain.
You got it. And Comprehend works seamlessly with other AWS services, making it easy to add into your existing workflows.
Wow, Comprehend sounds incredibly versatile and powerful for anyone who works with text data. Are there any other AWS managed AI services that stand out to you?
Well, if you want to build intelligent search experiences, you should definitely check out Amazon Kendra.
Kendra, we touched on that before, but I'd love to hear more about what it can do.
It's a fully managed intelligent search service that uses machine learning to deliver highly relevant search results from lots of different data sources. It understands natural language queries, personalizes search results, and can even give you answers directly from documents.
So it's like having an AI research assistant that can go through tons of information and find the most relevant insights.
Exactly. And Kendra is easy to integrate into websites, applications, or even, chatbots to give a seamless and intelligent search experience.
Wow, Kendra sounds like a game changer for anyone who needs to make information easier to find and access.
Yeah, one more service that comes to mind, especially for, if you're building conversational interfaces, is Amazon Lex.
Lex, we talked about that as a chatbot building tool before, but is there more to it than that?
Absolutely. It's fully managed, and you can use it to build conversational interfaces that use, both voice and text. It uses the same deep learning technology that powers Alexa, so you can make really sophisticated chatbots and voice assistants that can understand natural language and manage the flow of the conversation and even, connect with other systems.
So you're saying I could use Lex to build anything from like simple FAQ chatbots to, complex voice assistants that can handle back and forth conversations and, even perform tasks.
Exactly. And Lex is really flexible. You can define custom intents, entities, and slots to, tailor it to your specific use case.
Okay, so Lex is like this, versatile conversational AI platform that I can use to build, a bunch of different types of chatbots and voice assistants. That's pretty powerful. Are there any other AWS managed AI services that you think our listeners should know about?
Well, one service that really stands out, especially if you're working with, image and video analysis, is Amazon Recognition.
Recognition, we briefly mentioned that before as a computer vision tool, but could you tell us more about what it can do?
It's a fully managed computer vision service that makes it easy to, add image and video analysis to your applications. It can identify objects, people, text scenes, and activities, and images and videos, offering a wide range of capabilities for security, retail, analytics, media analysis, and more.
So it's kind of like having an AI-powered vision system that can understand what's in images and videos, right?
Exactly. And recognition is pretty flexible. You can use pre-built APIs for common tasks like face detection or object recognition, or you can use custom labels to train recognition to recognize, specific objects or scenes that are relevant to you.
Custom labels so I could teach recognition to recognize specific types of products that I have, or to identify certain equipment in a factory setting.
Exactly. And recognition integrates seamlessly with other AWS services, so it's easy to incorporate it into, your existing workflows.
Wow, recognition sounds incredibly powerful for anyone working with visual data. Are there any other AWS managed AI services that you think are worth mentioning?
Well, one more service that's worth mentioning, especially if you're looking to make customer experiences better and, get people more engaged, is Amazon Personalize.
Personalized, that sounds interesting. What's that all about?
It's a fully managed personalization service that uses machine learning to, deliver personalized recommendations and experiences. You can use it to recommend products, content, or even, search results all tailored to what each user likes.
So it's like having an AI-powered personal shopper that can, curate recommendations based on what each user likes and how they behave.
Exactly. And Personalized takes all the complexity out of building recommendation systems. You don't have to be a machine learning expert to use it. It has easy-to-use APIs and tools that guide you through the process.
Okay, so personalized is like a powerful engine for making those. You might also like recommendations we see on websites like Amazon and Netflix.
Exactly. And you can use it for a whole bunch of things from e-commerce and media to, education and healthcare.
Wow. Personalized sounds like a must-have for anyone who wants to create more engaging and personalized experiences for their users. Are there any other AWS-managed AI services that you think are important for our listeners?
Well, one more service that I want to highlight, especially if you're, concerned about security and fraud prevention, is Amazon Fraud Detector.
Fraud Detector, that sounds like a pretty important tool for, any business that operates online.
It is. It's fully managed, and it uses machine learning to identify potentially fraudulent activity. You can use it to detect things like online payment fraud, account takeovers, and, fraudulent content.
So it's like having an AI-powered security guard, watching over your transactions and user accounts.
Exactly. And Fraud Detector is easy to use. You don't have to be a machine learning expert to get started. It has, pre-built models and templates that you can customize to fit your needs.
Okay, so Fraud Detector is like a powerful weapon in the fight against fraud, making it easier to, spot and prevent suspicious activity.
You got it. And it integrates seamlessly with other AWS services, so it's easy to make it part of your, existing security setup.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground here from Amazon Bedrock and Comprehend to Kendralex Recognition, Personalize, and Fraud Detector. It's amazing to see how many AWS managed AI services there are.
It really is. And the best part is that AWS is always innovating and adding new services and features. The possibilities for building intelligent applications are pretty much endless.
Well, there you have it, folks. Generative AI is changing the world, and with AWS, you can be a part of it. Keep learning, keep exploring, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one creating the next AI masterpiece. Good luck with those exams. And remember, the future is in your hands.